What's up guys, Kieran from Madstick Motorcycles here. Just going to do a quick sort of intro to what we do around here and I'm going to jump straight into it. So we are a newly established business, small business, local business, and we do everything from custom motorcycle parts to custom bikes. We're the cheapest in Essex for GPS trackers, along with motorcycle alarms, because that's sort of problem around here, so we try and keep the cost as low as we can. Just to turn like a little bit of profit, so it's budget open to everyone, so we're quite proud of that. So with this series, the whole idea is we're going to show you most of what we do. The street fight we got sitting over there, so I'm looking that way. Got a Suzuki SV650. It's got a few bits done to it already off camera, such as water pump rebuild. We've taken the bars off because we're doing a straight bar conversion, levers, new switches, new water pipes, stuff like that. So we're going to show you everything we can in this sort of video segment of the stuff that we can now do on camera, because we've got the setup, because we didn't have that before and it wasn't really that much of a thought. So this project you could call Street Fighter custom, very sort of common conversion to do, especially with a bike that has either broken panels or has been crashed, or just someone looking for a new look. I know a couple guys that have bought a sport bike and they want to change the ride height and everything else. Then they're doing a Street Fighter to push those forks up a little bit more, put straight bars on, and they actually end up selling the panels to cover the costs of the parts that they bought new. So basically a free conversion. So we're kind of doing something similar with this. So if you're looking for SV650 parts, you can hit us up for that as well, because we do have all the original panels and everything else. Yeah, let's get into it. So we're here with the bike now. One of the first jobs I want to do with this is basically the switches and stuff that we're not going to be using on this. I'm going to remove these first to get these out of the way before I go ahead and put the top yoke back on. Which is literally a case of when you have your bike stripped, of course, just unplug 15 years of grind. So take this one out of the way there. As for the original plugs on these, which I'll show in more detail, probably what's going to happen with them is, because of the age of them and that they're different to the ones that we got, just give them a snip, put all new plugs on, stuff like that, and I'll cover all that when I get around to doing that side of stuff. And probably same with these here, because if you have a look, they're just covered in grease and whatever else. And because we're going for a custom speedometer setup for this bike, pretty much anything that's on here that I don't need is a case of snip, gone. So first thing I want to do is put the top yoke back on. Going on. Perfect, just so it's seated straight. I'm just going to lightly put the washer thing back on so I don't lose it. Pretty much with the top in place, go ahead and do these pinch bolts because we're sitting nice and level on there. Thing with pinch bolts, because you are threading into aluminium or aluminum, whichever way you say it, never over tighten them, because if they do decide to strip, you are going to have a work on your hands, if not replacing the entire top yoke. So with that, I'm just going to put the handlebars on in place just so I can get a look at this bike. And I'm going to fit up the headlight and work backwards from there. This is all personal preference, by the way. I mean, a lot of where I start my builds, it just depends on the bike. You don't have to start from the front. Just, you know, don't start. For example, on this, I pulled the carbs off to do a clean on them, which I also did off camera because it was before we got this set up. But I've not put them back on fully. I've just pretty much placed them there so they're with the bike. We know where they are, because I've still got to do like with the coolant hoses. So one of those one of those coolant hoses, if I was to put the carbs on, I'd have to turn around and take them back off again. And to be honest, that's just a complete and utter waste of time. So just plan it carefully. Like if you have to do a jobs list, so everything needs to be done to the bike, inspect the bike, and then put those into an order of what to do them. So sometimes that can save you a little bit of time. So just from a different point, just while I'm working on the front side here, because these pipes are coming off, I just want to replace these just while I'm standing here, because we do have a new set of blue coolant pipes. So these have been on for so many years, they can get a little bit stiff. I wasn't going to go into too much crazy detail with doing the coolant hoses, because it's literally a case of take them off, put them on. But what I do want to do now is mock up the front of this bike with a new headlight and a headlight mount. So when these go on, these are generally the clip-on fork kind that you find eBay everywhere else. I sort of have them aligned by resting on the bottom of the fork, and then have it where it curves up, because you don't want it going straight out unless obviously you got that style. This one I want a little bit higher. The only issue is I would have it up here, but the back of the light unit knocks off the ignition, so there's about perfect, it just covers it up. So I'm going to put these clamps on now. Right, so with those on, we're just going to make a, I don't know, you could call it a temporary fix. It's going to more than likely come off again during this build. Let's show you what headlight we're using here for this. So this is a halo style ring headlight, so you've got secondary light there, high beam, low beam. Generally what we like to use on street fighters, you can call it a Harley Davidson style if you're searching for one. It generally comes up under Harley Davidson or anything like that. We've used a couple of the Jeep style headlights as well. Basically anything with high and low beam that can be adjusted for our MOT laws over here, which is like the bike test if you're watching abroad. Just to show that it's roadworthy. Right, so we've got the headlight fitted on at the moment. Looking at it, actually, I reckon I could bump it up a bit during the adjustment. I could probably get it maybe up to here a bit more, just to try and cover that. Basically, I just want it as close as possible to the bottom of this as I can when it's in the right adjustment for the road, just so that it covers up this a little bit more. I've made a temporary plate for the speedometer, which I might end up keeping for however long, which I'm going to fit now. That's just going to fit underneath where the old bar mounts were. This is where it's going to bolt straight into. So that's how it looks on the bike. Very minimal clearance on top, just for that bit of adjustment backwards and forwards, which you do on the sort of final part of the build, is adjust your headlight when you're all finished. So when it comes to wiring these up, I am actually going to do a separate guide video on exactly how to wire one of these up with the wiring diagrams and everything else. The same goes for these speedometers, because these are a pain. If you don't know what you're doing and you haven't done one before, when it comes to wiring it, you can get your head around that. A lot of it is tuning the wheel. People tend to use the magnets and all that stuff, which you can, but I generally find it more beneficial in the long run, as well as accurate, to use a digital speedometer, which you can easily find to fit your wheel or anything else pretty much anywhere, cheap for aftermarket ones, so I can show how to hook those up. This one already has it, but I do have other bikes I'll be doing speedometer conversions on that I can show you, including one that's actually behind the camera. But I'll cover all of that, sort of wheel tuning, everything else. The next step I'm going to actually do is to sort out these bars, put them into the sort of position I want them, and then start putting stuff on the bars so I can measure the new brake line that we're going to need for this. What I just did there was I measured from where the mount is, so where it will sit against the edge from the mount to here. You'll see it's about 7 centimeters. So from the edge of this, which is where the throttle and everything else will sit, we know that the line's going to need to go about 7 centimeters this way. So a quick measurement from there down to where we need to go to, it says about 36 centimeters, around that. So what we'll do is we'll get a 40 centimeter line, because obviously this one has no give. We don't need this to be any extra length, because when you turn the bike, the brake lines and everything else stay in the same point, so we don't need to worry about having a little bit of stretch or pull or anything else like we are going to have to consider when we're doing the throttle cable and things like that, which I'll show you as well. But with this simple setup, 37, 36, around there, so we'll get a 40 centimeter line ordered today before I leave here, and then we'll replace this with steel braided. This slot we're going to replace as well, but we already know what these are because these are just a standard length, so just going to order a replacement set of these in the standard length, but obviously still braided, just to give that a little bit more brake action. So yeah, it's quite, this kind of section of build is quite fast paced. I know I'm sort of putting a lot into one video, but I'm kind of trying to show you what we try to achieve in, you know, between a day and 3 days. If we're working on customer bikes, you know, we kind of try and get it done quick, and then you know, it's customer bikes is normally more clean. We normally have gloves on and everything else, especially if we're handling new paint or, you know, a bike that's clean. These things that come in, we just give them a good old polish after we're finished with them. Right guys, I'm going to leave it there for this video. Join us in the next one. If you haven't already, please subscribe. You'll be doing a massive support to this channel. Obviously this is the channel's first video. Next topics I want to hit are things like doing the wiring for speedometer, headlight, that sort of stuff. Show you all sort of the tips and tricks that I've learned across the years of doing this trade, and hopefully you guys can pick up something too. So yes, please subscribe.